Isn't it crazy? The doctor is in. Hey, everybody. We're a little late today. We had a little technical difficulty, but this is our first live show. Check it out. I know, check it out. We're trying to be socially responsible.
Yes.
But me and Dr. Mo are in the same house.
Oh, I love it. Here we are,
Right.
socially distant with our mask.
With our masks.
And it is, the doctor is in.
Check out our shirt.
There it is. We have lovely t-shirts. I love it. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm excited to see you.
I know. I miss you so much.
I
We're
miss
together.
you.
I miss you too, but we're here.
We
What
are.
is that?
And we missed all of you.
We miss everybody.
We're so excited to see you and to bring today's Pink Table Talk. Ricky, tell them what Pink Table Talk is
So-
and why it's important.
So it's our first official Pink Table Talk. It's going to be a series of probably 10 interviews with families across the country who we will introduce our wonderful family in just a second. And our purpose is to bring the breast cancer conversation to your kitchen table. We want people, families, to talk about their health at the kitchen table. It shouldn't be something you're secret about, something that you hide from everybody. It should be on the table in your house as an everyday conversation. And so we're talking to families across the country who have experienced breast cancer or who may not even have experienced breast cancer to talk about their health and get comfortable sitting at the table with their coffee, with their water, with their friends, with their family, and talking about breast health, okay? Because we have to do that from a young age. We should be talking about it with our kids, with everybody. There should be no secret. So
And
that's why we're here.
Ricky, I love this because the one good thing, if anything good has come out of 2020 and come out of COVID-19, it's that we are forced to spend a little bit more time together, right?
Yes.
So there's no more, well, I guess it's coming back again, but, doing soccer practice and after school and this and that and movies and malls and restaurants and all the things have really forced us to slow down and spend some time with each other and reconnect and get to know each other. And where does that happen in so many families and so many homes? Happens at the table.
At the table, at the table.
So we want to bring some issues to our table. We want to chop them up, dice them up, serve them, present them to you, bring them back to us with your questions and your comments. And we want to really get into the issues that are affecting families and start to change the conversation about our health, about cancer, about our history, about her story. And we just want to bring it to you live. So we are so excited to see you today. We know we're on a different day at a different time. We will be here every Sunday at 3 p.m. during the month of October. So Ricky, introduce our guest today.
So these are my friends, my breastie, my breastie Valerie. So this is my TNBC breastie. I love her so much. And I met her at an LBBC conference a couple of years ago, and she had TNBC, and she was in treatment when I met her, right? And so we became friends, and we've honored her at our Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation fundraiser, and she is just a fierce force to be reckoned with. And she's an awesome breastie, and so we brought her, Valerie Blackwell, with her family. So I'm gonna let you introduce your family.
Okay, my name is Valerie Blackwell Howard. I'm a stage 2 triple negative breast cancer survivor. I don't like to say survivor, I like to say overcomer. This is my daughter, Nastasia Howard. This is my sister, Deborah Stephanie, and we all just want to say hello.
Yeah, and frankly, when you get breast cancer, it's not just one person. The whole family.
Say that again, because
it's not just one person. It's not just Valerie. It's not just Ricky. It's the whole family. We're all affected in some way. The whole family, all the friends, everybody's affected. And so,
all right,
we're all sick.
I want to start with you because I want you to talk to people who are watching, my patients who are watching, who are going through this by themselves, and they feel like, you know what? This is my burden to bear. And I just want you to tell us your story. Tell us your subtype, anything that you want to share about your diagnosis and your treatment so far.
Okay, I was diagnosed first in February 2018. And when I first was diagnosed, I wasn't really afraid because I kind of felt like this was something in my spirit that said that I had this triple negative. And I finally told my husband, my daughter, and everyone. But during this journey, I just learned a new, what is the word I want to say? I became stronger.
You became a badass.
Right.
You already were a badass. You became a badass.
Right.
That changed. All right.
Tell us what happened there.
what happened was during the first 6 or 7 months, as I went through all my scans, bone scan, whole body scan, and all those scans, it was a terrifying experience because, you know, you're under this big machine and going through your whole body. You were like, is it only breast cancer or is it all over? You know, you really didn't know anything. And once those tests came back and I took my genetic testing and I wasn't, there's no genetic mutation. So that was fine. And then after the surgery, I sat in a house. I actually got depressed for a while. I was really depressed and I was having a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Going through my treatments, but I thank God too that my husband, my daughter, my 2 sons, I just had my close family there with me to help me. There was my sister there all the time. If I wanted to cry, she was there to cry me. And she saw that I was really getting depressed and this anxiety attack. And then one day she was on a website or Facebook or something, and she found something about a triple negative breast cancer conference. And she was like, "You're getting up and going." And I was like, "I'm not going anywhere." And she wound up buying the tickets for us to go to this conference in Philadelphia. We went to the conference, and when I got there, because I was the one, I wasn't taking pictures, I wasn't taking off my hat because I lost all my hair. My husband shaved my hair for me. And once I got to the conference, I actually started crying because it wasn't like, I was so elated that I saw people like me. Because I thought I was all alone in this journey because I had my family, but I didn't see other women like me. And when we went into that triple negative breast cancer room for that first orientation, and I saw over 150, 200, 300 women with the same disease that
But our disease, and our disease is different.
It just, I don't know what it did to me, because my sister can tell you, you can tell them about the rest of the
when
story.
we got in the room, it's like we was at one table standing there just having a couple drinks and little sweets, and it was like many people was gravitating towards her. They was just talking. I was just seeing her in a different element now, because the person that didn't want to go,
right
now it's like, wow, it's people like me here. You know, I can relate now. I got somebody that can say, I've been through it. I've done that.
It was.
You know, so it was like
for
from that day on, it was like, it makes me tears, because
me too. That's why I had to stop for a minute.
yeah,
it
because
makes me tears.
that day when I saw her, and it was just like I'm standing back. I'm like standing away,
Right, you did.
watching her. I walked away just to watch her. I'm going like, I'm so thank you, Lord. I'm so happy that I made her come.
Oh my God.
Because she needed that, you know, her daughter, her husband, her kids. We all could talk to her, but we couldn't explain what she was feeling inside. So I was glad, and from that day on, a person that did not want to take pictures, you know,
I took off my
this
hat.
and that.
You took off your hat?
Yeah,
I remember getting the picture.
No, I'm not taking no picture, but you look fine with your hair like that. You look nice like that. No, I'm not walking around like this here. I'm not looking at my breasts. I'm not doing none of these things. So that from that day on, that first day, the second day, every picture the cameraman was taking, she was like,
She was
sit
posing.
the front.
Posing, right, posing. Yeah.
On
Badass.
the elevator, we get on the elevator. That's when we met you guys. We get on the elevator, and here she's going like, and I'm going like,
Because you
Selfie.
yeah, it just don't understand the
she
feeling I
was
got
just
from
that's
that.
how we met you guys on the elevator.
It was just like wow. I was like,
Competition.
it was really emotional for me.
Yeah,
it was
it was me
really
too.
emotional.
But you know what? I always say a lot too about breasty love.
Yeah,
You know, I
it's
say about
true,
all the time.
it's true.
And no matter how much your family loves you, and especially for TNBC, you know,
Right.
and for Black breast cancer, until you see another one that looks like you and is going through what you're going through, it's like unconditional love. Like, I love you so much. I love you for the second I
Same.
saw you. It's like love at first sight, and it's impenetrable love, and it's so special and so important that, you know, you can't even describe it.
No, you
You
can't.
can't even describe it. It's like becoming a grandmother, sort of.
So
Right,
what
exactly.
I gotta pause here, because what I'm hearing, and I'm pausing for my hand sanitizer. So what I hear you
I
say
touched you.
is that there is something about being in community, right? And
Right,
not just
yes.
with your family, because we got two different parts of this. The first
Right.
part of it is talking to your family, is
Right.
communicating with your
Not
loved
fighting
ones,
alone,
not
being
fighting
having support.
alone. But the second part of it is that something happened to you when you went to a conference.
It really did.
And it changed everything
It
about
changed.
who you were and what your purpose was and what you understood
Yes.
about your place within
Right.
in this world and within this diagnosis,
Right.
right? So let's break that down then. Let's talk about that. Let's start with the conversation that you had with your family, and who did you tell first and how did you tell them? And did you tell other people after that? And what did your family tell you? That's where we're gonna really start. What did you know about your family history?
I didn't know anything about my family history until I was maybe in my 20s. But I knew earlier because my mother died in 1979. And one day before that time, I saw her in the mirror, but I saw her, she didn't have a breast. But as a teenager, I was 16, 15 years old when my mother passed away, but she never told us that she had breast cancer. And then later on, my grandmother developed breast cancer around 76, and she didn't die, passed away until she was 96. But she kept it a secret, and she never went through chemo because, you know, being from that generation, they didn't trust the doctors. But I decided when I got breast
They
cancer,
still don't trust the doctor.
I know the first person I called was you, my daughter. I called my daughter, but I told her, don't tell
Don't
daddy.
tell anyone.
Right, and I told her, don't tell anyone.
Don't
I
tell
don't-
daddy I told you first.
Right, exactly. I knew I was gonna tell my
Okay,
husband,
right.
but me and my daughter have a
Yeah.
very close relationship. But I told her first. And then, but when I spoke to her, I said, don't worry, mommy has breast cancer. I said, but I don't want you to be afraid because God already told me I'm gonna have to go through this, but I'm gonna get through it.
Wow.
I said, don't cry for me. I said, I'm fine. And I told her that. And I said, but do me a favor, do not tell your brothers. I have to tell them.
Wow.
I said, I didn't want it coming from her, and I didn't want anything. I called my husband, and then I called my sister.
Okay, so let me cut to you. Now, mom tells you she has breast cancer. Where were you and how did that impact you? And what do you do with that?
It was a lot to take in. I mean, I was home, and at the time, me and my brothers were living in the same house. So her telling me and then telling me not to tell my brothers was
Really hard.
extremely difficult. I definitely, I think I was cool and calm while I was on the phone with her,
Right,
but I
of
did
course.
get off the phone and I bawled my eyes out and I had to stay away from my brothers, and you know they noticed that something was off with me, but I had to keep away from them because she told me not to say anything. I actually did mention it to I mentioned it to who's my brother's fiance now. At the time, his girlfriend. I let her know what was going on because I knew that when my brother found out
Yeah.
that he was gonna need the support, so I let her know. And it was funny. I think I called off of work for like 3 days, and I just like sat
Right.
in my house. I sat in my room,
Mhm.
Yeah, and I had to call
and then
me.
eventually, both my aunt and my soon to be sister-in-law, they both were like, okay, listen, get out the room,
Yeah,
get up. Everything's gonna be okay. Like you can't fall apart now. You have to, keep
Yeah.
yourself together for her. And we went from there.
And it was so funny because I really didn't. The reason I didn't want to tell my sons is because they're like, sons and mommies.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't know how they was gonna take it, and I didn't want them to just. My sons, you know your children, so you know who are the stronger ones and who are the ones
Who
that
don't fall apart.
apart.
Mhm.
So, but I found it, and it surprised me because my sons was actually stronger. They actually was. I'm like, they're not gonna break down, and maybe when I wasn't there, but they was there for me, and it was just like it was. Like I said, it was hard. For the only, and I'm being. I want to be honest right now. The only issue I did have was my husband.
Mm.
And you have to understand with my husband why
Why are you laughing?
when I tell you the story, the reason it was my husband, because during the time when I got breast cancer, my husband's mother is a stage 4 breast cancer, has stage 4 breast
Yeah,
cancer,
yeah.
okay? So he was already going through an emotional turmoil. And as a man, you don't really want to say this and say this. But when he found out that his wife had breast cancer, now this is a whole new ball game for him, because he's just like, and it's so funny because his mother was staying with us for a while. And at the time when I'm going through my test, I had to clean her breasts and do everything while I'm going through breast cancer.
Wow.
And I had to help take care of her.
Oh,
So it
boy.
was really even difficult for me as it was for him. But maybe like that first month, he sat at the table drinking.
Oh,
And
okay.
I can't deal.
Right,
I
he
can't
was
deal. I'm
having
checking
because
out.
he was
I'm checking out.
saying his mother, his wife, and he just didn't know what to do
Right.
at that time.
Right.
And we had a conversation one night, and I said, if you don't stop this drinking, because he's not a drinker like that.
Right.
So I said, if you don't stop drinking while I'm going through this, I'm leaving. I said, because I cannot have you drinking like this,
Yeah.
and I need you to hold me, but I
Uh-huh.
need you to hold me. I need you to be there, because my daughter and my sister and my husband was my eyes at the doctor. Because while I was going to the
Right,
doctor,
right.
I wasn't paying no attention to what they were saying. I didn't
Right,
care
right.
what they were saying.
Right.
My daughter and my husband, I was like, what did the doctor say? Can you repeat what the doctor said? Because I wasn't hearing
Oh, you weren't
anything.
hearing it.
So much to unpack here. I'm gonna
Right.
pause you right here because I want to get into the science of secrets, right? Because I have the saying, we're only as sick as the secrets we keep.
Right.
And there's something about our health that doesn't allow us to tell other people,
Right.
right? And then it festers and it becomes a thing.
Right.
The second thing I want to get into is I want to talk about the support systems and what your support system said to you. What did you use? Was it your church? Did you find a therapist? How do you draw strength and support? And the third thing is I want to talk about what could your doctor have said to reach you, if anything, because I talk to family members and I always talk to the people they're with. And I say, okay, did you get that? I said, because when she gets in the car, she's going to ask you, what did that doctor say? And if you didn't understand it,
Right.
she probably didn't get it. And I need for you to understand it. And they kind of look at me and I say, if you didn't get it, then we'll start all over again, because because of the stress of that
Right.
moment.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't remember.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
didn't remember
absorb all of it,
anything.
right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about secrets.
I believe that I was really open with my children. I didn't want to keep secrets because as a child, my mother and my grandmother kept secrets. And it's so funny that I actually have got the breast cancer because I can remember when me and my husband was younger and I would talk to him and I was like, I want to have a cut off my, I want my breast gone. And he used to say, why? I said, because later on, that's when I found out my mother had breast cancer, my grandmother, especially when my grandmother got breast cancer. I said, because I don't want to get cancer. It was something, even when I was in my 30s, that I just felt so determined about it because my mother passed away at 39. But
Something was telling
it was
you.
just something that was nagging at me. My husband was like, you don't have to do that. And I said, yes, I do. And I never did it but I was going to do it. And then at 56, I was
That's it.
diagnosed
That's
with
it.
breast cancer. But for my daughter, I just do not want my daughter. I have a daughter. I have a granddaughter. I have friends that of theirs that call me mom. I have other sisters, and I do not want this disease to go
No.
with anybody else knowing about it. My 8-year-old grandson, even he was about 6 years old, I sat down and had a conversation with him.
How did that go?
I didn't get into the deep
Yeah.
details with him, but I had to let him know that grandma is going to be she may be a little sick, but he was there. The conversation with
He's
you
precious.
Jackie.
He's precious.
He took it really well.
So grandma's gonna be sick.
And I said, grandma's gonna be sick and she may not be able to do the things that she used to do for you at this moment. But I said, you can sit with me. He would color with me. He would keep me
Wow.
motivated. He's just, and then my daughter was like, because I was keeping her because she had the type of job she had. She was like, Mommy, while you going through your treatments and stuff, I'm gonna take him back until, I find somebody else to keep him because I was keeping him at that time. And I said, please don't take him. And she was like, why not take him? I said, if you take him from me, at this point, I just knew I was gonna be no good because he
You
gave
needed
me
that. You
he
needed
gave me that joy to pick him up from school, to help him with
He's
his
your
homework.
why. He's
He
your
kept
why.
my reason for just to keep motivated, to keep moving. And I promised myself, even with diabetes, high blood pressure, anything that goes in my family, my kids know I do not hide anything from them. It's just not, that's something that I don't see because I know what I went through as a kid with my mother and father. And it wasn't because of they wanted to hide secret. I just think that's the background they came from. Everything, that
Tell
generation,
me more
everything
about
was a
that.
secret.
Did you find the same thing? And how did it impact your ability to have
We're
conversations with your
as
family?
sisters, right?
Yeah, when I found out, we have, my husband and I, when he was in Fort Bragg, he was in the military then, and I lived in North Carolina, and we came home to visit one day. It could have been like, she probably was like in remission or after everything was done, and back then they did like chop.
Right.
So it looked like scar, like burned scar tissue and things like that. And she said, you know, I had breast cancer. And I'm going like, I was enough crying. Why you didn't call me? I would have came back to New York. And so it was a secret for almost 2 years that she
Right.
didn't tell me either. So I didn't know, but even when my grandmother we found out my grandmother had it when she had an accident. She was in the hospital for a long time. And I remember being down there with her, and the doctors would come in the room and they're getting ready to talk to her. They get ready to talk to me because I was on her papers, whatever. And she would say to the doctor, and I didn't understand it.
Wow.
That she was telling him to be quiet, don't say anything
About the
about it.
breast cancer.
So only thing they could talk to me about
Wow.
was what she was in there for.
Oh my goodness.
So when
Wow.
he was going to tell us then about the breast cancer, as I played it back, I realized she was telling him to hush.
She didn't want
Don't
us
say,
to
she
know.
didn't want us to know.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was funny because they never let me look at her chart. You know how they used to leave the charts on the end of the bed
Yeah.
Mhm.
back then? Then her chart was never there, so we could look at it, and it wasn't written on her chart. So many secrets that your mother didn't tell you,
Your
your
grandmother.
grandmother didn't tell you, and these are things that you're supposed to know as adult.
Mhm.
Right.
As adult women, they don't tell you that much. Even to go back to as far as not to change the conversation, but even when you get to period, with your menstruation, they say, "Okay, stay away from boys." What does that mean to
Right,
somebody
right.
who doesn't know
No,
anything?
right.
So if you don't share knowledge with people,
So how did that impact your ability to share your health history and your,
well,
paying it forward to your generation, to
I
your next generation?
have 3 sons and a granddaughter. I have 2 granddaughters. I have a great granddaughter and a granddaughter and a grandson. And to my sons, I always say to them, my mom had it, my grandmother had it, and my sister. And now, don't think that men can't get it. You have to check yourself.
Ooh,
I don't
talk to the
think-
viewers, say that in the camera.
Men have it, women have it, but don't think that men can't get it.
Mm.
It's just that it's kept quiet.
Right. And you don't have BRCA, right?
No.
Yeah,
No.
neither do I.
There's no, and after that's so funny that you say that because after I was tested, my sister ran and got tested.
I believe her.
Sure,
I
that's
believe her.
Right.
I called my doctor.
And I wanted to make sure that I got tested because I was thinking about
About
my daughter, and then I was thinking about my granddaughter, and I was saying, well, how is this going to affect my daughter? And my doctors was so amazing. They really was, because I could have went to any big facility, but I decided to stay in Nyack Hospital with the doctors, because my doctor, the whole team treated me like a person.
Wow.
They made me feel, my doctor, if I needed to be in that office with her for 35, 40 minutes with my husband and my daughter, she would sit there and she would explain everything. But what she did tell me, and that I always remember, because I was moving ahead of the game. I was thinking about tomorrow, if I'm gonna die, or, all these different things.
Mhm.
And she said, you know what I want you to do, take one day, one step at a time. Let's get you through these
Right.
exams.
One day at
Let
a
me
time.
take your MRI, take your bone scan, take your whole body scan. Let's take your genetic testing. Let's get that done. Come, you're sitting at home nervous. Next day she would say, how you feel? And I'm already in radiation and reconstruction and
Right, you're
everything.
down the road.
Right,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
was like, no. She said, then she gave me options. Do you want to have your double mastectomy, whatever you want to do? We can do it now. Do you want chemo first? And I'm like, I don't know. All I wanted was to
Get it out.
at me. I just want it out of
Get
me.
it out of me.
Just
Get
get it out of me. So, and they, you know what? She worked really fast and quick with me. I'm saying that week I must have took a bone scan, CAT scan, whatever. And 2 weeks later, I was in the surgery room having my double mastectomy. because I wanted both breasts removed at that time.
Mhm.
And she was awesome because she made me just stop because I was going like this.
Yeah, you
My,
took a cycle.
it was going so hard, but
Yeah,
I like that I was able, my daughter and my husband was there. Like I said, they was there to listen because I could come home. If my husband was here, he can tell you more about my treatment than I can because I was in the
I love that. Say that again.
My husband was there at every treatment. He took me to every session, and he can tell you more about my treatment than I
Wow,
can.
that's the power of
That's
family.
power, yeah,
That's the
that's power.
power.
Because
of
I
family.
didn't, I couldn't, I just couldn't.
because you're not there. You're in a
Right, I
different,
wasn't
and,
there.
and it's almost like you really don't want to be there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you're trying to deal. Okay, what do I have to do today? I'm gonna go sit in the chemo chair, but you really just don't want to. You try to fantasize being on a beach. I
My
get it,
husband,
right,
exactly.
Right. Wow, wow, wow.
Now, how does that impact the conversations you have with your family members about your health? And do you have children?
Yes.
Okay.
The
The little
grandson
boy.
that
Got
she
you.
talked about, that's my
Yeah.
son.
Mhm.
I think it's important to be open. Like I said, I was appreciative that I was the first person that she thought to call to let know what was going on because I listened to their story about my grandmother and my great grandmother. And I'm like, maybe if they would have talked to them earlier, they would have knew to look out for it
Mhm.
earlier. So like because of what my mother went through, I'm aware of it. I know, that I need to go
Right,
get
with the
tested
referral.
and I stress to my brothers that they need to keep in check and I stress to my friends that they need to,
Cousins.
get
Right,
tested. Like
right.
I keep everything. So I think it's important to have those conversations and not, keep it a secret.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because if I'm hearing correctly, the youngest person in your family was 39 years old.
My mother was 39 when she passed.
Right.
Wow.
And do you know that the guidelines for how we should manage people who are at higher risk say that we
Right.
should start screening 10 years younger
That's what I
than
was
the
telling my
youngest
daughter.
So you should have
person
been screened at
in the
29.
family
Right.
diagnosed. So you
I
should have
never
been
was-
starting at
I was
29.
never
You should have been
screened.
starting
Yeah, I
at
was
29.
never-
Right.
yeah, I
You
was-
should be starting at
Right.
29.
And you know what? And I always say this too, our breast cancer is different, Black breast cancer is different. I believe there's something about triple negative without BRCA that exists for Black women.
And
So many
talking
of us
about-
get it, and so who knows if your mom or your grandma had triple negative, right?
Right,
We don't know,
exactly.
Right.
But,
No.
but we just don't,
Mhm.
we just don't know. We just don't know.
Mhm.
And I know we've got to do science around that.
Right.
That's the science we need to do to understand
Right.
what's different about our Black breast cancer disease. So,
Mhm.
but there's a family that has triple negative in your family. We don't know.
And you know what? And it's not the only family.
It's not
There
the
are
only- so many
so
families.
many families. But
Right.
there's a couple takeaways from this, though.
Yeah,
And the first
yeah.
thing is getting that hereditary cancer testing. It is getting tested for the
Right.
mutations. It's knowing your family history,
Knowing
knowing
your
your
story,
risk,
knowing
knowing your
your
her story,
Yeah.
and your his story. It
Yeah.
matters what your father's lineage had. What's on the paternal side?
Right.
And I can't tell you the number of patients say, "Oh, my dad's side doesn't matter."
It
It
does
does.
matter.
And that's
The
what
full
the doctor, but honestly, when you go to the doctor, because my doctor, she told me, she said, "Oh no, it's just maternal." So
Oh, no.
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 see,
Ceasefire.
you know what? I didn't, and that's why I think I forced the test on her. I said, well, I want the test because she said,
Right.
no, it's only maternal. I said, well, my other my dad's mom had
It's
it.
not.
She had breast
Right.
cancer.
Wow.
So
So your dad's mom had it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, my dad's mom had it also.
Right.
Wow. So
Right.
you
She
had it.
both sides.
Yeah,
and we
both
have a
sides.
cousin who has breast cancer
On my father's side.
Wow. So yeah.
And so only 5 to 10% though of all breast cancers are hereditary.
Hereditary.
Meaning you inherited a change from mom and dad, BRCA1, BRCA2. There are several other genes now. And so this is important to know too, because
Yeah.
some people got tested back in the day when it first came out. The BRCA1 and 2 genes were discovered in 1993. 1993, 94, 95, right?
Really?
Sure.
That's
This
Relevant
is
to science,
recent.
yeah.
So people who were diagnosed around that time only got tested for maybe 1 or 2 genes. Do you know there are panels of 40 genes, 50 genes, 80
Right.
different
I just had it.
genes?
I just had it.
Exactly. And so if you are watching and you got tested for BRCA1 and 2, you need to talk to your doctor. There may be more genes that are involved than you are aware of, and even more genes than the ones that we all got tested.
Right. And we don't
I
even
had
know.
the panel,
Right,
and I
you-
don't have it.
you
With a
have it.
mother with ovarian
Right.
29 and a grandmother with bilateral breast cancer.
Right.
Is there a gene we don't know?
We don't. Yeah. And I think there is a gene we don't know.
You
I
might
think,
be right.
I think there is a gene we don't know, and I
Yes.
think that that's why people come to me and say, well, my mom didn't have it, so I'm good. No, 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 no,
And
no.
the only thing I want to really stress too is, please, talk like we're at this pink table talking now. I know me and my husband, we have Sunday dinners together. We know during the week, sometimes we can't have dinner at the table
Right,
together,
right.
but we insist that on Sundays, we sit at the table and we talk. And we talk about everything with my 6-year-old grandson there. We
Right.
ask him what he's
Right.
been doing and
Right.
everything. We talk about everything. Please talk to your family about your health,
Right,
medical history.
Yeah.
Please do
right.
that.
And you, what's your A1C? What's your blood pressure? What's your whatever?
Right.
Did you get a mammogram? Did you get your PSA tested? All of that needs to be
Yeah.
at the
I
table.
was on the phone yesterday with my sister-in-law, right? And two of my sister-in-laws had breast cancer. One died from it and the other one died from pancreatic, I think.
Which could be related
But-
to a gene.
Yes, and I said to her, she said, we was talking about it, and I was telling her, I said, well, Camelia, I said, you didn't take the BRCA test? She says, no, my doctor ordered it for me. I said, they're not taking any scan, they're not cutting you, they just taking another vial of blood. I said, you need to
Where's
take that.
Solana now?
Yeah, you
I said,
bring
you
this
need
up
to, and I said, you need to take, I said, not just because of the breast cancer, because the colon cancer runs in your family. So you need to take that test just to see where you stand. You're not just taking it for you. You're taking it for your nieces, you're taking it for your sister's daughter,
For your
your
grandbaby.
sister's son.
Wow, yes.
So take the test. So she's supposed to take the test this week.
And can I tell you something? Let me jump in here and say that because of the coronavirus, because it's 2020, year of our Lord, they are now mailing kits to people's homes. You
So
don't
you
even
do it
have to
at
go
home. You go to
into
the
your
doctor.
doctor's office now. They
Right,
will mail you a kit. You spit in a tube, send it off, and you too can know if you inherited mutations in your genes. And what's more, they're now able to start telling you how high your risk is and what type of screening you should be getting based upon your level of risk for colon cancer,
Mhm.
for breast cancer,
For
for
pancreatic,
pancreatic, for other cancers. And they can tell you what you should be getting because you go to your doctors, your primary care doctor may not know.
right, right.
They may not know all your family history, but
Right.
you've written it down on that paper and they will cross-reference it with the guidelines and tell you, hey, do you know you should be getting an upper scope and a lower scope every 3 years? And
Wow.
they'll tell you what you need.
Yeah, and I think what we're hearing is that you need to get that scan or that risk assessment at 25.
That risk assessment
Between
again.
25 and 30, depending on your family history, you
Absolutely.
know, but frankly, you should have had it.
But
way
you gotta
younger.
know that
Right,
family
right,
history. You
that's
gotta
right,
know that
exactly.
To
history.
even know.
Let's talk about those secrets though. What are
Yeah.
some of the reasons why we keep those secrets?
Yeah, what are
Because
we
there's people
afraid of? What
watching
are
who
we
aren't telling
afraid
their
of?
families right
Yeah.
now.
What are we
What
afraid
are we
of?
afraid of?
I think when it comes to like thinking about the situation with my grandmother and her kids, she may have felt in some kind of way that she was protecting them by
Mhm.
not
Okay.
saying anything.
Protecting them from what though, do you think?
But at that time, I think that was, the mothers probably thought that they
Yeah.
was protecting us. I don't have no ill will against my
Sure.
grandmother, nobody. But I think that was my mother's way of saying, I'm protecting my children. She didn't know any other way how to protect us, and that was a way of protecting us.
Well, and you think about it, Black children lose so much innocence, right? We
Right.
grow up so fast for
Right.
so many reasons.
Right,
And then to add a diagnosis of cancer and the fear of losing a parent. So, okay, so we internalize that and we want to protect our children. What's a better way? What's a better message for people who are right now protecting their children from their diagnosis because they don't want to put another
Don't
weight
do
on
it.
their children?
don't do
No,
it.
it's actually not a protection.
Tell us. Tell us.
Because I think about if my mother had not said anything to me, would I even be considering going to get mammograms right now? Not at all. But because I know, her medical history and I know what happened with my grandmothers and my great grandmother, I know that I need to go get tested. So in the end, not saying anything isn't protecting them, it's putting them at more risk than
Ooh.
anything.
Say that again, right there.
That not informing your children about your medical history is not protecting them. It's actually putting them at risk.
Wow.
Hello.
Wow.
And even because
Hello.
I was just telling Ricky and them that I believe, like, I have a granddaughter that's in high school and a grandson that's 21, and my granddaughter's 16, 17. I would love for them to start teaching this to those high school students, because there's so many
We're
young
going to.
Yeah.
women, under 25, 20, that are getting breast cancer, and they figure they got the world in front of them, and then they go to what is this? And no one is telling them about it.
No.
Yeah.
No one is telling
We're
them.
doing a program at 5 HBCUs right now, right? And we talked to them on Friday, and they were blown away by what they didn't know and then what their friends don't know.
Mhm.
And they're now reaching out on social media and their friends are telling them like, well, what's a self-exam? When do I do that?
Right.
Well, how do I know about that?
Right.
And it's making them have conversations with their moms and with their grandmothers, which is great. But they were so surprised at the level of information they didn't have. And these are all really bright kids, you know, really good families, but you know, in school, but they don't know. They don't know because they've never been exposed to it. They've never had the conversation. And actually one of them said, well, you know, my mom didn't really know, couldn't even answer my questions.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think we need a good support system. Like I said, I have my family. I had my doctors. I even had a social worker and a psychiatrist I spoke to during my treatment because my mind was like,
Yeah, oh,
this.
yeah.
Let's
And
talk
I
about
was-
that.
and I
Tell us
wasn't-
about that.
And I wasn't afraid. And she didn't, my psychiatrist was like, you don't even have to come in the office. She called me every day at 1:00 to see how my day was going. Did I journal? Did Val, what are you doing today? What are you thinking about today? Talk to me. And she was amazing. She helped me through that. And then, like I said, then I found the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation.
Yay.
And that was like, my world went like this. I was like, and in this journey, I want everyone to know too. There's a lot of people that's in your life for the season, and there's some that's going to be out for the next season.
Talk
Because
about
I know that during my journey, there was people that was in my life during that season that went away for those 2 years that wasn't even a part of my life. They didn't call. Because I had to learn because I was sitting in the house
You had
crying to my
anger.
sister
You
because I
had
had
anger.
anger towards them. And I had to learn that everybody cannot cope. And it was, I don't think it was that they didn't love me or they didn't care. They just didn't know what to
So
do.
let me ask you that then, as we talk about keeping secrets, right? There's some people that we don't tell because we think they can't cope, they can't take it,
What did I do?
right?
My friends, it was a limited number of friends I told. And then one day my daughter was like, this is after I came from the Triple Negative Breast Cancer. She said, Mommy, I want to just put something on Facebook and I want to put a post for you. I said, before you put the post up, let me call some of my friends.
Right, so they won't be
So
surprised.
they won't be
by it.
surprised.
Right.
That has been this long.
And it's been this long. So I did that. And then I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready to open to the world because I'm not afraid no more. I'm not scared. I don't have the anxiety no more. It is what it is. And even I talk to Haley a lot because there's sometimes when I have to pull away because we think about reoccurrence, and some nights I'm up saying, oh, I feel this, or is it this or that? But I'm like, I'm a striver, I'm an overcomer, and I know that wherever this journey leads me, I'm going to continue
Oh my God.
to tell everybody and shout it out to the world that please, I have a 7:30 morning Saturday walk group. And every day I talk to these women about breast cancer. My coach allows me every Sunday, go get your breast exam, make sure you're getting your mammogram, make sure you're doing this and this and this. I'm gonna tell everybody I meet, what do I talk about? All the time.
All the time.
Fight
All
like
the
a girl.
time.
Fight like a girl. You gotta do
All
it.
the time.
You gotta do it.
I tell everybody because I don't want nobody to be in that position that I was in. And if you get in that position, at least you know you got friends.
got friends, you got help,
Help.
you got a support system, and
You got great doctors.
great doctors. Yep. And you have the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation.
Right.
You have Touch.
You have
BBCA.
touch.
Yeah, we're all here.
So
we're all
how
gonna
do,
help
how
you
do
out.
people get linked into these things? Because I think there's a lot of people watching who are not connected, newly diagnosed during COVID, right? And they want to figure out, how do I get involved? How do I find community? How do I get involved in activism? When can I go to a conference, and what conference should I go to?
My sister found my first conference for me.
You know, because Triple Negative starts advertising early. So when I was just on Instagram, you on Facebook, you start seeing little flashes
Right.
coming across. And I said, I would write stuff down. I said, well, this is what I saw.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people just bypass it for the gossip stuff
Mhm.
and they ignore it. But if you look at your Facebook page, your Instagram page, or any news, you'll see it. It comes across, whether it's this organization or another one.
But that's how Ricky got
It comes
me into
across.
with the touch.
Yeah.
The touch, she got me in touch with Touch and Tiger Lily and
Yeah.
all of them. And there's many of this, the Sisters
Living
Network.
Beyond breast
Yeah,
cancer.
yeah, and
They're
yeah.
Living Beyond Breast
Yeah,
Cancer.
absolutely.
Yeah,
You
actually-
have gotten me in touch with so many great organizations.
Yeah, but actually our triple negative conference is kind of inside of the LBBC Living Beyond.
Right,
Breast Cancer
exactly,
Conference. And it's
exactly,
coming up. It's October 24th and 25th. You
right.
can go online and sign up for it. I believe it's lbbc.org, but we'll put it,
Yes, it is.
we'll put it in the chat. And
It is currently the Knowledge is Power
Yeah,
conference
yeah, exactly.
is going on right now for Black breast cancer. So Living Beyond Breast Cancer, LBBC.org is having a virtual conference for Black women with breast cancer.
right, and Dr.
Women
Mo's
and men.
speaking on the 25th.
On the 18th,
On
I'm
the-
speaking on self-care. On the
Okay.
25th, I'm giving the closing remarks at the conference for Bold.
Great,
It's a
great,
closing for
great.
Bold.
So join in,
So
because
I
that's
will
where we
be there.
met.
That's
where
where we met.
So-
Exactly.
And it'll get you linked into a virtual community so that when we are able to come together again, you will meet these people at the conference. You will
Yes.
have your dance parties,
Right,
right? You
right.
go
We're having a
and
dance
go
party.
to the
We're
exhibit
having
hall.
we're having a dance party at the virtual one. at
When is
LBBC.
that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we also will have an exhibit booth. Touch will have an exhibit booth. So if you come to our booth, our virtual booth in the conference, we're
I
gonna
love
be
it.
there hanging out.
And,
So
and you will get so much information
Yes.
on bras, on creams, on intimacy, on just connecting with
hugs, we'll
people,
give
on
hugs.
hugs,
Right,
on
hugs.
advocacy,
Love,
their
speak
books,
love.
how to tell your story, how to tell your family. What products should you begin to use? There's so much there at these conferences that is so rich for you. So if you are watching and you're trying to figure out where to go and how to get involved, touchbbca.org, tigerlily.org, Living Beyond Breast Cancer, LBBC.org, Triple Negative Foundation is such an amazing wealth of information. TNBC, right?
TNBCfoundation.org.
TNBC.
And let me tell you my story about that too. So I was on my third chemo, I believe, and I woke up at 4 a.m. with the bone pain that you get, from Neulasta, yeah. And so I was like, oh my God, my cancer's in my bones. Freaked
That's
out.
right.
So I go online, email my doctor at 4 a.m, right? What's gonna happen, right? So I said, I can go to the TNBC
You sound like
Foundation.
my patients.
And so I went into the discussion group. So in the website for TNBCfoundation.org, there are discussion groups that are happening 24/7, and these women are talking about
Right.
everything.
Everything.
So wait, they're up at 3 a.m.
Oh yeah,
like you?
yeah,
Yes,
they're everything.
yes,
So
they
I'm in
are.
the
All over the country.
yeah, so I'm in the group, and so
Yeah.
I go into the metastatic group, and like Ricky, you are
I
not metastatic.
Yeah, I don't go in that
Get
group.
out. Like they could tell
I
instantly.
never-
They
yeah.
could tell instantly I wasn't metastatic. I have stage 3A. So I said, well, I have stage 3A. Doesn't that count? No, go find another group. So
Yep.
I go in my right group, and they basically said, Ricky, you're having bone pain from your drug, from your bone marrow drug. Just take a Tylenol and go to bed.
Wow.
Call us in the morning, and you'll be fine. And
So the
literally,
power of community.
right. And then
right.
like 4 other women talked to me, and then like there are like 10 women telling me the same thing. So I took the Tylenol, I went to bed. I wasn't aware, I was fine. I went back in the group, and I went back in the group, and they were talking. How are you? Or did you make it out? Did you sleep? I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
I love that we have that conversation over the the Facebook and the different media
Right.
outlets that we do have. But please don't rely only on that information.
Say that again.
Don't rely on that
Right.
information. Please, each one of us is completely different.
Yes.
Talk
Right.
to your doctors. Your
Talk to your
doctors
doctor.
are
Talk to your doctor.
best source of information.
Right.
Let's not go Googling everything, because I know Haley had to tell me that. She was like, Valerie, her story is not your
That's
story.
right.
And I had to learn that when she told me that, because I'm like, oh, she died or this happened. And she was like, Valerie, her story is not your story.
I tell that to
And
every
each
single
one of
person.
us have our own story in different ways. And just, you know what? Someone asked me the other day, how you feeling? And you know what? For the first time in my life, and I'm 58 years old, 58 years old. And you know what? I am happy.
Wow.
I am blessed. I don't get stressed. I am like, I don't know what this feeling is, but
It's on purpose.
it's
That's what it
right.
is.
It's a purpose, because
on
somebody's like,
purpose.
no, I don't get angry. I don't get upset no more. I'm just like,
Peaceful.
right.
You're
I
peaceful.
am so at peace.
You're peaceful. Your peace is non-negotiable. You
And-
found your peace.
Right, exactly. I
peaceful.
found my peace.
You found
I
your peace.
found my
And your
peace.
purpose.
And
'Cause
your
let me
purpose,
tell you,
yeah,
you are
yeah.
living it right
Right.
now.
right,
And I
and
think
living
that that's the thing. It's such
I
a
found my peace.
transformational time. You
Right.
know, nobody plans for breast cancer. Nobody
No,
budgets for
no.
it. Nobody plans in their families, their vacations, their lives, their emotional, their spiritual life.
Right.
But when it happens, we have to, no matter what stage it is, You
Right.
have to use it as an
We have to use
opportunity
it. We have
to
to use it.
change your life, to transform your life. And that transformation cannot happen in a vacuum.
And you
It
know what?
can happen when you don't talk to people, when you don't reach out, when you don't get rid of the toxic things in your life, when you don't embrace
Exactly.
Get rid of your
community.
cancer.
And
You
you
gotta
know
get
what?
rid of all the
Don't get
cancer.
rid of the
You gotta
cancer.
get rid of all the cancers.
Because
Surgery
you taught
only
me
gets
that.
rid of the
I,
tumor.
yeah,
You
get
taught
rid of
me
all the
that.
cancers.
Because I thought when I lost my job, my job had a big downside. I've been on my job for 30 years, and one day they had a big downside. I didn't know what to do, how to redirect my life. And then my daughter came and she got this promotion on her job, and she asked me to take care of son. And I still didn't know what was going on in
Yeah,
my
God
life.
is working
But
it out.
God was
God is
working things
it
out for me
God is
even
working it out.
then. And
Wow.
you always told me, do not negotiate my peace. And I didn't understand that until recently when I'm like, my husband, I love my husband. Me and my husband been married for what, 30-something years? Don't ask me, because sometimes, you know, the chemo brain and everything else.
Right, right.
goes
Okay, a
away.
lot of years.
But I love.
She said, don't blame the chemo.
No, chemo brain is real, okay?
But I'm telling everybody who knows me know I love my husband.
Yeah. You
I
probably-
love my husband. I love my kids. But I'm telling you, I am so happy.
Right, it's not about them.
It's not about them.
It's not about them. It's about
I'm
you.
happy.
It's about your spirit, your peace,
Yes.
you find who you are.
Yep.
And you also know your purpose. And you know what, Val? You have to talk about breast cancer.
Right. And you have to
And
talk
there's no
about it.
way a
You
day
can-
goes by that we can't talk about it.
And you
We
can't
know-
avoid it.
You can't avoid it.
You
We
can't
know it's our
avoid it.
purpose, and I know that our other breasties need us to talk about it. Our metastatic breasties
Yeah.
need us to talk about it because we're stronger than them.
And
So
let me
we
tell
have
you,
to.
I think about my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law has stage 4 breast cancer now for about 7 years.
Bless her, bless her.
And she had corona.
Oh, God
And she
bless
was
her.
in a hospital for a month and a half. But she is still standing and she's still
Fighting like a
strong.
girl.
Fighting. And she be what, 79 years old this
She's
year?
fighting like a girl.
And I'm saying, when I see her, she motivates me. Because like that breast cancer, I'm like, here I am, not even 1 year out. And I went to this breast cancer, triple negative breast conference. And there was a woman that was 25 years clean. That was, I said clean, right?
Right, clean.
That
I love
was
it, right.
15 years, that was 9 months, I was like, wait, there's a chance for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
11, 15 years, and I'm like, well, you know what? I ain't gonna die.
And that's the thing, because
I'm
when
not.
you hear the doctors and they give you the statistics, because I do it all day, every day, right? 5 year, 10 year, 20, what are we looking at for you? But when you see it,
Right, we're
when
right
you
here.
see that sister
We're right
walking
here.
down the conference with her pink heels on and her pink
That's
boots,
right.
or when she
And
is
that's
getting
what I'm tutus and
right.
everything
Her
else.
flat chest, or her bald head, or
Right,
her new
right,
implants,
right.
or
Or
her
a sparkle
red
skirt.
saddle, or her
You
sparkle
tell
skirt.
Right,
And you know that there is
Right.
hope. There is
Yeah.
always.
right.
There's hope.
There's hope.
You
There's
know,
hope.
when we went to the last one we went to, it was 2 different ladies we met. And each journey is different. Each person celebrate
Different.
differently.
Yes.
One lady was just screaming to the top of her lungs. Other lady, she was more quiet and reserved. And she was like, no, I'm not down, but it's just part of life and I'm going on.
Mhm.
And the other lady who was all the way up, she didn't understand. Remember the
Her
lady
joy,
that we
where
met
she
that was
is,
from
yeah.
Camden?
Yeah.
The other lady, she didn't understand why this lady wasn't, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah, oh yeah, I don't have cancer no more. She says, no, it's just a part of my life and I'm going on. That doesn't make me less caring. It's just that
And that's the thing.
You
For
know
some
what?
people, it's only one chapter
It's
in
one
the book of their
chapter.
life.
It's
It
one
doesn't get the
chapter.
title. It
And you know
doesn't
what?
have to.
After that
That's what she said.
After that triple negative breast cancer foundation, you know what my husband did to me that I would never do? I didn't look at my breast for almost 6 months.
Oh, come on.
I would shower and I wouldn't look at myself. My husband stood me, I have a mirror in the bathroom. He stood me in the bathroom and he stood behind me.
Uh-huh.
And he said, I don't care what you do. Your breast is not why I marry you. I marry
Wow.
you because I love you. Look at you. He made me look at myself and he
Wow.
told me, you're still beautiful. You're still my baby. You're still the
Oh,
woman that I
wow.
love. And he said, this is not going to change how I feel about you. And that,
Uh-huh.
just know that,
You're okay.
because you don't feel like a
And
woman.
that's
You
the
don't feel
thing. You
whole.
don't feel sexy. You don't feel
Right,
you
right,
don't feel
right.
like a transformed person.
Exactly.
But that transformed you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did.
And
That's
that's your spirit, that's your spirit, that's your spirit. So you know what's so cool, you guys, we have these amazing sponsors to help us put the
Yes.
table talk together, and
We do.
they're Amgen and ASI and Merck. And they're what they're like, that's allowing us to do is to do this a bunch of more times. So we actually are gonna go, we have scheduled to do 10 of these. If your family wants to be a family and do a pink table talk with us, put it in the chat
Yes,
or email me
please.
at ricky@touchbbca.org, and we'll talk to you, we'll call you or reach out, because we're trying to find some more families to do this. We want to talk to everybody. And if you don't want to come on camera with us, you can do it at your house. We can.
But we will try to come to you.
You
We
will come
try
to-
to
yeah.
bring the pink table to you and your family so
yeah.
that we can talk about the issues that are affecting all of us and all of our families too.
Yeah, but don't wait for us. Go ahead and have, you can do your own
That's
practice
right.
session
Yeah, right.
before we get to you, but get your pink tablecloth or get a white, it doesn't matter. Don't even need a tablecloth, but sit down at the table, wherever you guys congregate, whether it's on the couch, at the table, on the deck, wherever you are, and talk to your family, talk to your kids, talk to your moms, talk to your aunties.
Because we
Because
know.
we need to talk about it.
Yep, and we know that the people that have millions of dollars, they have this conversation, they have the best doctors and stuff, but we have to pour this back into our community where we are
Talk about
lacking.
that.
We
Wow.
have to go back into our community where there's a
Right.
lack of the medical coverage, where there's a lack of
Access
doctor, where there's a lack of
healthcare.
access to healthcare. We have to go back in our community. There's no way that we have gone through this journey
Yes.
and not give back. And I'm not saying, it's not always about the money. It's not about pink.
No, it's not about pink.
It's
It is
not
not
about pink.
Sure
Not
isn't.
It's about sharing your journey with
It's
someone
about love.
else.
We speak love.
Right.
Speaking
It's
love.
about
Wow.
sharing
And
your
speaking
journey with
love.
someone else.
Speaking love and
And
speaking life.
speaking life. I want to talk about really quickly, and I want to just say the advocacy groups and the power of these groups and the importance of sitting here with you, and this lovely board behind us highlights some of the organizations that are involved in this.
Yes.
Because, as the doctors, we kind of, our nurses will send patients, oh, you can go to Tiger Lily or you can go to Touch, but there is power within these organizations to transform
power.
lives. There really is. And so
Yes.
I just want to shout out Tiger Lily
Yes.
Foundation. I want to shout out Touch BBCA.
Yes.
I want to shout out Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation.
We are on there.
Women Beyond Breast Cancer. We know that those folks are with us. They are watching, and I need you to go to, those are places that are reputable sources.
Come to our conference.
Breastcancer.org.
Yeah. Come to our conference.
Reputable, Bright Pink, great sources of resources, great resources and information for you, and there is community for you. If you are watching and you're facing this alone, you don't have to anymore.
No one
Today,
fights alone.
and
And I want to show you, this is
Oh yeah,
my,
this is her port.
this is my necklace and this is my port.
wow.
And my port for me was a security blanket.
Oh my goodness.
And my doctor was like, it's time to get your port out.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
no, I'm coming in.
I take my suckers out.
I'll let you clean it and you put the saline, just keep giving me the saline because this was my security blanket because I was afraid
Yeah.
Okay, take it out.
that without it, that if I didn't have my chemo, that
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't survive.
Right.
And then when he finally, I didn't get
Wow.
my port taken out until 2 years after
Oh my goodness.
because this was my security blanket. And when he took it out, I'm like, can I have it? And he said, for what? I said, I want my port. And there was a young woman in Texas that made my port. And
Wow,
I
I
wear
love
this.
I
all
wish
the
I had
time.
kept mine. It's so
And she
funny.
made matching earrings to go with
I
it.
love it. Well, it's so funny because my oncologist would not take my port out.
And look, the
She told me,
3D
you're gonna
triple
die, you're gonna
negative.
need it.
You cannot get the
That's
things
what my
out as soon as
CV
possible. I
that's
said,
what
look,
my
what do you
triple
need this crutch
negative
for?
is.
What do you
There you
need this security
Oh yeah,
blanket
see,
for?
my doctor
Let's
would take
go.
it out, and so I went to Dr. Regina, my first
Yeah.
doctor, why do you have a port?
Why do
You're
you have it?
fine.
Get the
I'm
thing
taking
out.
that stuff out.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I'm
So,
wanting my
I love
port.
it. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Wow. Well, we
We
hope
gotta
that
go, right?
we hope this has been relatable and reliable and real. And that's what we set out to do, Ricky. When we
Right.
started this
Right.
program. So
That's
how
what we
many
started.
months and weeks and months
I
ago?
know, we've been doing it since April, can you see
And we're
that?
gonna be
And we're
doing it
still
through
here.
2021.
Right, yeah.
And we are so thankful to
Yeah.
all of you
Yeah,
for watching. We are so thankful to our sponsors. We
yeah.
don't have to cut it off, she said.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
well, yeah.
She said we can keep going.
Well, any
Right.
more questions? You have any
Yeah.
more questions you want to talk about?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about even like when there's a lot of people like because they don't really know there's different stages.
Ah,
Because
Yeah.
because even for me, I was just telling, I think Haley and Terry and them, I was just telling today, last night, And I got really emotional. My husband came to the table and he was like, baby, you gonna be all right? You okay? I have all my medical records on paper.
Mm.
Last night was the first night I sat at my table from about 6 o'clock to about 10 o'clock, looking at each page of that
Wow.
paper. I have never looked at my papers. I didn't care. I didn't want to. The chemo, like I said, my husband knew about the chemo treatment, what drugs I took, the radiation. My husband was, he need to be here because he can tell you more than I. The radiation treatment, the surgeries, he can tell you everything. But I was like, I was afraid to look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was afraid to look at it. Even though I know that I was
PTSD,
fine.
yeah.
Right, but I didn't want to look at it.
So I just got Citizen.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
we
Me
talk
too.
about that.
Yeah.
Citizen with 2 eyes, right? And they're a partner of ours, and they digitize your records,
Records, yeah.
right? So we'll put that in the chat. But I hadn't really looked at mine until I saw the digital file,
Really?
and I just a week ago looked at
Wow.
my first scan.
Wow.
I never looked at the picture.
And do you see though how far you've come?
Right, I looked at the picture
Right.
from 2011. I had never looked at that picture.
Wow.
And when I saw it, I was like, wow. But now I can go on my phone, boom, 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 pull up my whole cancer history, everything, and
And you know
it's
what
a
made me,
great thing. It's a
you
great
know what
thing.
made me think of that? Because I never really considered like 1.4 centimeters, 1.2.
I know, what does
And
that
then they
mean?
was explaining to me like the 1.4 centimeters is like the top of a AA battery, that flat part. And like the 1.2 is like a AAA battery, the top of that flat part. And I was like, okay, because I'm thinking my tumor look like the bottom
Right,
of this
right,
or
right,
or this.
You know what,
Yes,
though?
right.
I carry a tape measure with me all the time, but the second thing I do is I speak food.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay,
And
you
I
speak
ruin
food.
food.
Okay.
Any of my patients watching know that I will
Right.
ruin food for you. Whether it is, we talk about lima beans, we talk about blueberries, we talk
Okay.
about peas, frozen peas versus fresh peas. Frozen peas not good, fresh peas, you might feel a fresh pea or a blueberry. Jelly beans, lima, we talk about food. You know, I
Yeah, I was looking
explain
at
breast cancer like a can of crescent rolls, right? When you pop the can and the dough pops out, that's what the word invasive means. It means it broke out of the duct or the place where it
Okay.
started. And even if it breaks out a little bit, that's why your surgery changes. Now you have to check a lymph node because the can popped open.
right.
And so now my patients don't eat crescent rolls.
Yeah, because I had one lymph node
Yeah.
involvement, and
Yeah, I had
also
seven.
I have one.
Mhm.
Only one was involved, and because I didn't understand like the different stages, stage 1, stage 2. Listen, stage 3, stage
And
4,
that knowledge,
and a different stage, and that knowledge, that knowledge is really important because I was saying I had to step away from the people that were saying, oh, I hope you're not late stage and this. I'm like, those people need to move out of, they
Out of
need
my
to
way.
move out of my way.
But so many
Because-
people don't know what the word metastatic means.
Right.
No, they
We get
don't. They
so
do
many
not.
calls from my,
that's true.
well, my doctor told me I'm metastatic. What does that mean?
Mhm.
And,
Well,
and
they
they,
think
and they,
invasive means metastatic.
right, and then they
Right.
Google metastatic and it says you're gonna die. So, you know, like it's just
Yeah.
so many mistruths or so much misunderstanding that we try to, you know, we need to educate about and keep people informed
Right,
on,
we need
you
to
know?
know those, that's why I say
I
don't
want to
Google
talk about
everything.
prevention too. So now
Yeah.
for those of you who don't have it, who know the family history, who know the risk, who talks to you about prevention? What have you done as far as research on your own? Because I feel like this is an area where I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, where doctors are not able to give enough advice about
Right.
nutrition, about
Right,
prevention,
right.
about the things that's going to keep you healthy. What's your regimen look like to keep yourself healthy?
Oh, my,
To keep yourself healthy.
Today?
To keep yourself healthy.
today what I do, I have a coach
Mhm.
that works out twice a week with me. My grandson makes sure I work out every day in the house. If I'm not on a bike at least for an hour, he's telling me, mother, get on the bike. I have I'm very careful about what I eat. I don't, like I said, I stay away from stress. And I'm actually happy because I actually told my sister the other day I I didn't run. I jogged 2.5 miles. That's
You
something
go,
I used
girl.
to do before I
Wow.
had cancer. And I'm like,
Virtual fist bump.
I was like, oh, wow, I
You go,
can
girl.
actually jog around and walk right now. But I want breastfeeds to also know, please, whatever kind of exercise, dance 5 minutes, like the
Well,
5
yeah,
minute
we're
dance
doing,
you
you know,
do.
we're dancing every
Do
day.
any type of exercise. You
Yeah.
need exercise.
Right, yeah, and dancing is a great thing. It helps
Right.
your bones. But we're dancing every day in the month of October at 3 o'clock. One song, probably from the 70s, because I picked it.
I got some good girl power
All right,
songs.
all right, give me some good
Yeah, yeah.
Every day, 5 minutes, 3 o'clock.
Right.
We'll put the Zoom link in the in the chat, but either you can dance with us on Zoom or you can watch us on Facebook Live on the Touch BBCA page. We're dancing every day in October. On October 31st, 11 o'clock Eastern time, we're doing a Halloween dog walk. Dress up in costumes, dress your dog up, a cat, cute kid, cute man, whatever you got, bring them with you. We're gonna walk for an hour and a half on blackdoctor.org Live, and we're gonna be in our costumes, and we're gonna do a Thriller dance contest. So get your Thriller moves going, because we're gonna do a dance contest on Zoom.
They make fun of me in OR, play Thriller.
I
All right,
have
well,
I
yeah,
have
so
a
we're gonna-
question with
yes,
you
ma'am.
for, with the insurance.
Yes.
Because we know there's we know that they give free mammograms and different treatments, and they have health centers and stuff that give back to the community. But there's a lot of breastfeeders that go through a lot of financial hardship
Yes.
during this season, and I know there's a lot of organization that tries to give back. But as breastfeeders and the community, what can we do to help those individuals that's fighting for insurance, that's fighting for,
Mhm.
they're fighting for their lives, because some people are being thrown out the house because they have to choose between having my treatment
It's true.
and
Oh,
feeding
yeah.
my family
Yeah.
or having a house
Yeah.
over my head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we actually had, last week, we had on patient advocate
Yeah.
forum, right? Patient
Mhm.
advocate, and we'll put it in the
I
chat.
was just gonna say that, yep.
So they provide funds, the Pink Funds, Molly from the Pink Fund,
Mhm.
and then also the TMBC Foundation has financial assistance. So
LBBC has
LBC
financial
yeah, so you
assistance.
have just had.
And ask your cancer program, ask your navigator,
Right.
if there is a financial navigator or a social worker who is dedicated just to sitting down, like I have in my hospital, we have somebody, she used to be a social worker, and now she does finance. So that none of my patients will ever have to show up and choose between their chemo bill or their mortgage and their children's
Good.
tuition.
Right, and
And
yeah,
so someone should be sitting aside with you and
Right.
pulling out foundation funds, going to LBBC, helping you fill out these applications, because we already know you don't feel good.
Is that part of the
You
you don't feel
navigator?
good, you don't
It's,
feel
the
good.
navigator can help, but they should be able to point you to somebody else who
Right.
does finances. Sometimes it's in the billing office, and then sometimes, depending on where you get your care, they're gonna make you do it yourself.
Right.
And that's when you go to the Patient Advocacy
Right,
Foundation,
right.
right?
Or you,
And that's when you go to
yeah,
LBBC, and that's when you reach out to Touch, reach out to Ricky, and
Right.
she will help
reach
you.
out and we'll find you a
find you
resource.
resources.
Well, yeah, if you reach out to us, we'll find you a resource, Ricky at touchbbca.org.
Absolutely.
Or
Yep.
just go on our Facebook page and send us a note.
Right, we got.
We're getting some questions from the audience on, we need to talk about young men, so it's funny because our HBCU internship, when we went on, we're at Howard, FAMU,
Right.
Bowie State,
Mhm.
North Carolina A&T, and Spelman.
And Spelman, right.
And from all of the schools, we got boys applying for the job,
Really?
no girls. For
Social
3
media,
days.
right,
We're on
social
social
media
media.
interns for breast cancer.
Yeah, and so
All
we
men.
got
All
all
men.
boys, and so.
We
I said,
got
no,
some
I
girls.
don't know
We
about that,
got
I'm not
some
gonna be able to
girls.
have like the boys saying, can I,
You
check
feel your girls,
Check your
right,
breath.
yeah.
Can I check your
It's not gonna go well. They have a campus full of men
And we had
telling
some
women to
girls.
show their
So,
breasts and tell them their breasts.
we actually found
But it is, it's a
Facebook.
powerful
I know,
message.
we found Facebook groups for the moms of students. We went in those groups and we found girls. But we do have we actually have 3 boy interns that are working for us, 2 from Dartmouth and 1 from Bowie
Okay.
State. He's a nursing student. And so
It's incredible.
they want to educate their friends.
Right.
Girls, boys want it different. And so, I don't really care how the message
As
gets
long
out
as you
there,
get out.
as long as it gets out there. And so
I
we're so
have
happy
a
to have them.
hashtag, check your chest.
Yep.
Right? Because everybody's got 2 sets of mammaries,
Right.
at least 2, sometimes
Right,
more.
right.
Because sometimes you can have more than 1 nipple. Don't act like y'all don't know that.
Right.
But you gotta check all of them.
Gotta check all of them.
Whether you have breasts, whether you have chest. Last week we had Matthew Knowles on. He called it chest cancer. Don't
Right.
get me started on that one in the comments. But whatever you call it, you have got to check
You
them.
gotta check
You
it.
gotta feel them. You gotta know your risk factors for breast cancer. And the risk factors are family history, right?
Okay.
The risk factors for women have to do with our menstrual cycles and whether or not we have
So
children.
that's a good point.
But for men, the risk factors are gonna be diet and lifestyle, right? How many alcoholic beverages a
Right.
week are we drinking? How sedentary
Right.
are we? Are we getting up
Are we
and
getting up
moving
and moving?
around?
Right.
Are we smoking, right? Because
Right.
smoke has toxins. Don't get me started on smoked and processed meats.
Right.
Because the nitrates
Right,
and the toxins from the fat in the grilled meats,
right,
right, are what's causing that colon cancer.
right.
It's what's causing breast cancer.
Right.
Yes, there's
We have to
something
eat better.
in the meats that we grill. When those fats get grilled, carcinogens are activated.
But let
And
me-
I love grilled meats.
Let me ask you a question
Go
for
ahead.
that, because like I was telling everyone too, I was a vegan for 7 years before I even
See, yeah.
had breast cancer.
Mhm.
And I didn't eat meat. for
See?
7 years.
I rode my bike
Yep.
20 miles a day.
And I
Didn't
used to
matter.
I
ride.
have patients who are
didn't
skinny
matter.
as a rail and organic
Right,
diets.
and-
Right.
and
Didn't matter.
It doesn't, it's.
And then I'm like,
it's
maybe I
not
should,
respected.
maybe I shouldn't have soy, maybe I
It's
shouldn't
not
drink milk,
respected.
maybe, I was just like,
There are other factors as well.
right,
There are external factors, you know, where my hospital is, they used to mine uranium in 1800s, and it's all farmlands now, and everybody thinks, oh, it's from a farm, it's organic, it's great. No, there's still pesticides, there's still toxins, there is a nuclear power plant, there's a nuclear power plant near my hospital, right? There's all sorts of environmental factors,
Right.
there's mining, there's lots of different things, and there's stress in our bodies, and the effect of stress
right.
to manifest as disease. And so it's not just one thing. So doing just one thing to
Yeah.
help your body get over it is not gonna
It's
be
not
the
gonna
answer.
help.
There's no
It's not
one
gonna
magic
help.
bullet.
Yeah.
It's not all CMOS. It's
Right.
not all apple cider vinegar. It's not all chemo. It's all of the things put together to help us be well.
And can I say one thing too? I want to say that I'm not sure how many of our viewers, but I believe that God has kept me, and a lot of people may,
Oh,
I
yes.
don't know how
Mhm.
everybody relationship with God, but I thank God for my church family and friends that I had in the church that supported me to make sure I was good. They prayed with, if they couldn't do anything else, they prayed for me. They was there for me for those moments when I just didn't feel like I can just get up that in a moment. Like my sister, she was there when I used to sit there and like cry because I just needed a hug. I just wanted somebody to hug me, hug my husband. Then sometimes I didn't even want to be bothered with him because I was like, oh, you know, it's the mood swings we go through too, because our mind is like,
You never know what's gonna hit you.
right. I never knew what was going to hit me at that particular day. So I was like, then I'm like my son, like I said, I had a great support system, but there was times when I just felt like I needed a little more. And nobody could really understand how I felt because my sister used to always tell me, we don't know what you.
We don't know what to do.
We don't know what to
say.
do with you. But I can tell you, she made sure I ate. She made sure if I didn't want to eat, she was like, "Here, just try to drink this soup or try
it
to."
a little bite.
Anything that she liked, I knew she liked that. I would just make that.
Yeah, because there was food that I loved I knew I was sick when I couldn't eat my crab.
Didn't taste the same. Yeah, yeah.
Or I couldn't eat something that I really enjoyed.
When I
And I
could
was
eat
like,
ice cream, it was not a good day.
Exactly.
You know what to do, right? You know?
exactly.
But you know what though? So I had so many friends help me, you know, and I still feel like every day I wake up in a cloud of prayers 9 years later. But we started a prayer group. So on Sunday night, we have a prayer call, 8 o'clock every Sunday night. We named ourselves Sisters Making a Difference, and now they've had injury issues and illness, but we just formed a group from them taking care of me. And most of them didn't know each other when we started. They're all different parts of my life. But we have a prayer call every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, and that is just a place to be.
And for some people, it's meditation, it's mindfulness.
Yeah.
Nostalgia, tell me about how your family treats nutrition and diet and exercise and all the things as a result of
Does
this.
she
How
cook for
has
you?
this changed things for your
That's
whole
okay.
family?
Well, she was always mindful
Mhm.
about what we ate, but I think after the cancer, she got a little bit stricter.
Okay.
'Cause I'm not very good at following the rules, but you know, she'll let me know, like, no, you shouldn't be eating that, or you shouldn't be having too much of that, or oh, you need to go, you know. And like she said, my son is like a little drill sergeant, so like,
He's 6 years old?
well, he's 8 now,
Eight,
but
oh my
he's-
God.
That's okay.
he's like, oh, you need to go to the gym, or oh, you didn't go.
So that's what we
We didn't
started,
go to
right?
the gym this
Yeah.
week, or we didn't go for a bike ride, or so he's like a little drill sergeant too. So
Love
between the two of them,
They're
you
like
know,
sponges,
and-
they soak it up, you
And
know?
it's not because I don't, like even my husband, sometimes he's like, because my husband loves food too. And it's not because I'm like, I just want them to be healthy.
Right.
I just want them, I don't want them to have to fall
You want
into
them to be
this
safe.
category. I want them to be safe. So when I nag them, it's not nagging them because I nag them because I love them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, watch this, don't eat that, don't drink too much of that. Make sure you're drinking your water. Make sure leave sodas
Right.
alone.
Fried chicken once a week.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't have it.
Bacon.
That would be my
Bacon.
downfall.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't have it, but do it in
Organic
it.
bacon.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
it's true.
Right.
We did have a question about staging. And
Right.
I think that it's important because you know so much about your pathology. And it's so great to see that you understand the things you get from pathology. So I did want to backtrack and give a little bit of an educational moment. When a person gets a biopsy, the information that you get from that biopsy, and you look at your sheet, and if you go back and look at those pages, finally, after all this time, and it's gonna make a bit more sense that you're gonna find out, one, is it cancer or not? You're gonna find out two, where did it come from? Is it breast or is it some other tissue, lung or wherever else? Then you're gonna find out where in the breast it came from. What part? Is it ductal? Is it lobular, the parts that make the milk or the parts that carry the milk to the nipple? Is it tubular or some other part of the breast, right? Then you're gonna find out the grade. The grade is not the stage. And so many patients say, oh, it says grade 3, that means I have stage 3. The grade is the growth rate. How fast are your cells growing? And whether or not chemotherapy might be helpful, or whether or not it's really, really slow growing and chemo wouldn't be helpful. And then you're gonna find out about those hormone receptors. And the hormone receptors is probably one of the most important things that you can know about your breast cancer. It determines your subtype of breast cancer. ER, estrogen receptor positive, progesterone receptor positive, HER2 positive, or triple negative. None of them are positive, and those cancer cells don't have any of those stations on them. And I just wanted to go over that because sometimes you'll look up information and you'll read, okay, my stage is 2, but you don't know whether it's stage 2 triple negative,
Exactly.
stage 2 HER2 positive, stage 2 ER positive, and it
Stage 2
really,
grade 3 or what, yeah.
it really matters.
And
Yeah.
you know what, because I had markers. I don't know what they call them, markers, because I had had biopsies before.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that exactly, because they say they saw something, but it wasn't, at that time, it came back benign. It was nothing there.
Right.
And they put a marker in
Mhm.
exactly where that marker was at.
Is where it was?
That's where my
That
breast
was,
cancer was.
yeah. Well, that's what,
And it
that's
was
what.
right there. I had a marker
But,
right
but you
there.
had a good history of your mammograms.
Right.
Right.
So
And
that's what,
consistent
and
history.
yeah, when you have that consistency, they can really look
Mhm.
whatever, look at that. So we have a question about prophylactic mastectomies because of BRCA.
Mhm.
Can you speak to that a little bit? And when if you have a family history, and and especially if the person with breast cancer got it at a younger age, you need to get tested for BRCA. And most insurance will cover it. So once you get tested and you have BRCA, you can make some choices about your health.
It's true.
And a lot, we call them previvors.
Mhm.
Previvors, right?
Yeah, I have a group, a support group at my hospital of previvors. They have BRCA 1 and 2 and other mutations that put them at the highest risk of breast cancer, because that's what the genetic testing tells you. It doesn't tell you whether or not you're going to get it. It just tells you what risk category are you in. And so prophylactic mastectomies are important not just for mutation carriers, but can also be important for people who have breast cancer, right? Because you want to reduce your risk of it happening again. But for people who have a mutation or for people who don't, the mastectomy does not take your risk down to 0. And I don't think not enough women know this.
Does that sound like Angelina?
Angelina Jolie
Jolie,
had
that's what she did that.
that's right.
She did
She
that.
had
Okay,
mutation.
okay.
Yeah.
And she was found, I believe, to have atypia. She had an abnormal biopsy, and at that point, she said, "Okay, I'm done here," because she knew she had the mutation. Because her
Okay.
mother died of ovarian cancer when she was younger, And so, when you get that prophylactic mastectomy, your options for reconstruction are all the same as if you had, a mastectomy with cancer, but you don't have to get the treatment like chemotherapy.
Okay.
But the other thing is that it's important for every woman to know that even
Right.
when you get a double mastectomy, your risk for breast cancer is still
It's
not
just-
0.
Right.
It's not 0 because underneath of your skin is a layer of fat. Underneath the fat is the breast tissue. And separating that breast tissue from that fat under the skin is like separating a Jell-O pudding cup from the vanilla from the chocolate. I could take a spoon and scoop out the vanilla layer and look at the chocolate layer. You still see a little bit of vanilla left. And that is why it is so important to do your chest exam, to do your self-exam.
Right.
Even if you have had a double mastectomy, you shouldn't be getting mammograms, but you should be feeling above your collarbone, below your collarbone, under your arms, your
Right.
lymph nodes,
Right.
your skin. If you have nipples,
Yeah, I
where your
still do
nipples,
that to
your
myself.
scar tissue, where the drains were, all of those things you still gotta feel.
Yeah.
Because the risk of cancer happening again, less than 2% is small, but it's still there. And
Right.
you gotta know yourself, and you gotta know your changes.
Know you're normal.
Yes.
Know you're normal,
Gotta
and
know
that's
you're normal.
as you know her story. Know you're normal, and know
Mhm.
your body, so you can
Yes.
recognize differences.
And is there, I I don't worry as often as I used to worry about the fear of reoccurrence, because I try not to let that invade my.
I know in breast it's
mind.
39%.
Right, and I know that
Yes.
there's a chance that there can be a reoccurrence, and I say in my head that, God forbid, whatever, that at least I know that they're still looking for treatment, so I ask that, like, that we are getting more African Americans in trials, we need to get them more in
Yes.
trials and different things, so we can get it treatment, because most of the time, African Americans are
Yes.
diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, so we need our African American, our Jewish sisters, and everybody else, and our Hispanics to get out there and join those trials, because we need a treatment for our triple negative. Because I believe if Dr. Mo or Ricky can say, the only treatment they really give us is the option is chemo and
Well,
radiation.
and frankly, we don't, and
surgery,
surgery, but we
right.
don't really have, so we now have, 2 medications or 2 treatment paths for metastatic.
Metastatic, right.
That's for
But
those
we
that-
don't
I
have
was gonna
anything
say
for
that,
early
nothing for-
stage.
right,
You know, we
that's
have,
metastatic.
Trodelvy, and we have Tecentriq for metastatic triple
Right.
negative, but we don't have a preventative drug, so.
I want to talk about that risk of recurrence, so that number. So the risk of recurrence for cancer, for breast cancer, is still low. What happens
Okay.
is that number you're touting, 32%.
39.
39%
women.
of Black women will recur, but the risk of recurrence individually is not 39%.
Okay.
Right,
That's the
right,
percentage of
of
people.
overall. Thank you for explaining
Because
that.
I think that's really important. One of the reasons we're able to do breast conservation, lumpectomies, is because we know that the survival between a mastectomy and a lumpectomy is the same as
It's the
long as you
same.
add the radiation.
Right,
Because if I'm a surgeon, so my job is to get rid of the cancer, right? And then you leave all that healthy breast tissue behind, we gotta treat that, and that's what radiation does. And so radiation will treat that breast so that the cancer hopefully will not recur in that breast.
It's so true
Right.
that you say
Right.
that, because when I was
Right.
going through my
Right.
radiation doctor, she told me that, she said you have stage 2, you don't have to take the radiation, she told me. She said, but what I want to do, I want to treat it like you have stage 3. So I'm going to ask you, do you want to do the radiation? She says it's not,
Because you only had that one lymph node.
because I only had that
right?
one
Right,
lymph node.
right.
And they gave me the 3D
the 3D mammogram.
radiation.
Yeah,
I
okay.
had the 3D
Okay.
radiation treatment, but she was saying that, let's do this. Do you want it? She said, you don't have to do it.
Right.
But she said, I would suggest that you do it, because they were very
Well,
informative, and I did it because I wanted that.
You
It,
security.
it wasn't that, the percentage may not be that great, but for me, I needed
You want
that
that
added.
security.
and people should know though that the staging guidelines have changed.
Right,
The way that we stage breast cancer, it used to be that if you had a tumor that was more than 2 centimeters, you were stage 2. Now, if you have a tumor that's more than 2 centimeters, you're not necessarily stage 2 by the new staging guidelines. And so if you would need a website or reference, it's AJCC, ajcc.org is the staging, the people who actually make up the stage.
Mhm.
And so it stands to reason that having one lymph node positive used to put you at a higher stage. Now you're at a lower stage in 2018.
Oh,
And so I get what she's saying, that we should treat this more aggressive because they changed the staging
that's what she
guidelines.
told me.
We treat the person though, not the
Well, yeah,
number.
well, we want
And
as
knowing
much treatment as we can get.
Exactly.
I mean, I want it up, bring it.
Exactly.
Whatever you got for me, bring it. Me
Right.
and God and
But you
whatever
know
you
what?
got.
Not everybody does, and it's a difference in
Yeah, I
philosophy, and
do.
that's the
Yeah.
era of personalized medicine. That's what we gotta
Yeah.
get to for Black women.
Yeah,
Is that we have to get to the era where everybody doesn't have to get the same blanket treatments,
right,
because this is all we got.
right,
Right.
You know, and that's
Right.
my hope for triple negative
Yeah.
breast cancer,
Yeah.
that we would begin to
Yeah.
tease out
yeah,
what we need to do to personalize the treatment, not just for those early stage estrogen receptor positive ones, right? And this is what we're talking about. When you hear that recurrence score, the Oncotype
Right.
or the Mammoprint, the risk of cancer recurrence,
right,
those numbers and those personalized genome tests, those tumor tests are only good for people who have the ER positive, hopefully PR positive, HER2 negative. They're not for the triple negatives.
no, right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not for.
Well, and also
Mhm.
triple negative is
Mhm.
less likely to recur
In the
after
first-
5 years. If you make it
right.
5 years,
Exactly.
it recurs
The
pretty
risk of
quickly
recurrence is
in a
the same.
year, but after 5 years, we actually are good.
But
And
those
I-
recurrence scores, like the Oncotype,
Yeah.
they're not valid for triple negative breast cancers.
And I understand too that with the triple negative, they were saying like, if you had chemo before, it's a better chance they can tell you if the chemo is working, because your doing the treatment, they can see if the
Right.
Treated the
tumor
tumor
is
shrinking.
shrinking.
That's called
And then for
neoadjuvant.
me, as I didn't have chemo before, I was like,
too.
take it out.
Take it out.
So
Take it
I
out.
know that there may not never be a way until research or scientists find a way to say, well,
Mhm.
your reoccurrence rate may happen again. But I chose, and there's really, I just have to realize that I always say the chemo worked.
Well, and that's
Right.
okay, because you did the surgery, right? And
Yes.
the surgery got rid of it, and
Yes.
the chemotherapy helps to treat the whole body to prevent distant spread
Right.
and prevent recurrence. Some people, though, we do need to give it up
Right.
front. And
Right.
we give it up front so that we can, one, shrink their tumors and do different surgeries for them.
Oh,
But
okay.
two, we get to see the medicine respond, we get to see the tumor respond to the medicine. And psychologically, for some patients, especially those who feel, who have skin involvement, those things, watching that
They
tumor
wanna
shrink
watch it
down,
shrink.
feeling those lymph nodes go away is a
Mm.
very, very powerful motivator. And it
Yeah.
helps you to begin to change things and make sense of why I have to get this medicine, why do I have to lose my hair, why do I have to this? Because guess what? That tumor you felt 2 weeks ago is smaller, it's gone. And then we do the repeat scans and we know the medicine
So what
worked.
happens when
You still
Get
do the
bigger.
surgery.
you
Then
do the
we
surgery,
go to
then you
surgery
go
or
straight
we
to
change,
surgery?
or we
Or
change the
change the
medicine.
meds, change the
Okay.
meds.
And we can
Okay.
know that
Right.
we need to change
Yeah.
the chemotherapy
Okay.
regimen.
Yeah.
And so that's the benefit of giving it up front, but everybody doesn't meet criteria for that. Everybody didn't need upfront chemotherapy. There's only some people who need it.
Okay.
But when we do need it, the benefit is that it gives you a chance to stop smoking so you can get your reconstruction. Because some people smoke and the plastic surgeons won't do reconstruction. Some people need to get their blood sugar under control before surgery. Some people need to, there's things that we can do while you're on chemo
To help you heal.
help you heal and help
Right.
your quality
Help
of
you get
life.
better.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, it's 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other, but that's that personal conversation
Again, with you and your doctor, with you and your doctor. one-on-one.
Absolutely.
Yep, yep,
Absolutely.
yep, yep. I think we should,
Yeah.
I think we had a great conversation.
Oh, it's
today.
Yes.
so rich.
We went over our
So-
hours,
I'm
but
so,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
pray
Yeah.
so
More.
Yeah, we're so glad you guys are here. It's so
No, we
different
enjoyed
being,
ourselves.
being
I've
with
enjoyed you
people,
so
you know? I'm
much.
so happy to be with people, not
I'm
in
so
my
happy to
house.
put on real clothes.
I know.
And see all of you.
Yeah, I
Oh my
know, I know,
goodness.
but- And thank you again to our awesome sponsors who are gonna really help us do this.
Yeah.
You know, 9 more
Yes.
times and maybe more, you know, but Amgen, ASI, Merck, we love you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes.
We're gonna keep this going. If you wanna be a family and talk to us, you know.
We wanna talk to you.
Email us,
We
email me
want
at
to talk
Ricky,
to you.
Ricky at touchbbca.org. Come to our triple negative conference, come to the LBBC conference, October 24th and 25th. Check out the Knowledge is Power conference, and go to LBBC's website. And Haley's trying to tell me something from the background.
Virtual event.
Oh, the virtual event, yeah, we have a virtual event. If you go to the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation website, we're doing a virtual event now. We couldn't have a gala,
Okay.
obviously, right? We used to have a really grand gala,
Ooh,
but it's on October 27th, and
Okay.
we're doing it virtually, so come to that event.
I
Come
will
to that event.
register for that.
So lots of homework for you guys. We'll put everything in the chat so you'll see it. Come to our website
And
and
the
thank
other
you.
thing,
join our mailing list, and we hope that we'll all
The
be happy
year is-
ever after.
the year is ending, you know, we're in October, right? And it is a great time to think about your charitable giving.
Right.
Yes.
And these are some wonderful organizations
Yes,
for you
right.
to that give to our breasties, that give to our communities,
Right.
that do the things that make this programming happen. And so if you happen to be watching and you go to those websites, I encourage you to start thinking about that, right? Before December
Right,
31st,
Giving
tax
Tuesday.
season, I just had my taxes done yesterday. Tax season will be upon us.
Right.
And you should begin thinking about, you know, the
Right.
trips that you didn't take and some of the ways to reduce your taxes. These are great and meaningful ways, and folks need it and they
Yes.
use it. And these organizations that we are
Right.
referring to,
We'll help our breasties.
they are
do more work.
helping our breasties.
Right.
Do
And
more work.
so we
Yeah.
thank you in advance for any charitable giving that you would give to these organizations. It doesn't come to me or to us.
Right.
It goes to our
For our-
patients,
for our
it goes to
community,
our
for our
programming.
community,
It
straight
goes
through.
to giving you this knowledge that we hope has been real, relatable, reliable. The doctor is in.
The doctor's in. Go talk at your table tonight.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Breasty love, breasty love,
Breasty
breasty love, breasty love.
Just make, just do, you got
You
it.
got it, Joelle.
We did it.
Thank you.
Look, boom, boom.
Boom, boom. Oh, there you go.
Oh, look, I got it.
The breasty love dance. There you go. The breasty love dance.
What do I do?
Wow.
You got it?
Are we on?
Hi.
Wow,
Yeah.
man.
It was so good. Like,
Oh, what's happening?
so good.
Well, you guys, when we play this
You guys
back,
are so loud.
all the noise you made is gonna be on the tape. You guys are so loud.
You don't even know the
What
text
was
message.
happening?
You don't know the
You
text
got me
message.
so
You
emotional.
do not know.
Tell
You
us,
tell us. Tell them. Tell them.
sponsors who are watching it, who are like, we want to give you money. We want you
Are
to
you
do more of
serious?
these. Yes, this is unbelievable. This is the best program we've ever seen. We have to like, listen,
What do you think I was screaming for?
We didn't know. We didn't know.
It was a question.
Mimosas.
The
questions were so
were
good.
so, like, we could have went on for another half an hour.
Yes.
And nothing from that girl. So you know she gets cut off.
It
Not
was-
one post. Not
And
one.
Valerie, I never want to hear you say, I'm not a speaker.
I'm
I told you guys.
She got everybody crying.
The day she walked into that gala, that was it.
I know, right? She became a rock star.
You know what? And I know she did, I know Andy kept saying, "Val, you only got 2 minutes." Now, but there's no way in 2 minutes I'm gonna be able to say what I have to say.
Address the camera and the
It was just
viewers, which is so
amazing.
important, the people on the other end, which I know so many people don't even do that.
You guys have
No,
Amazing.
it was so
Seriously, so
Okay, so when we
awesome.
first envisioned this program, we
Yeah.
were like, we want to have a family that's the model family.
Right,
A family that other families are gonna look
right.
at and
Like
say,
normal.
Right, normal.
You know what?
be me.
We
That's
want-
my family.
no, but exactly, and we want someone who's gonna be funny and cry and have funny stories
Right,
between them,
right.
and do you know what I mean? Like one of
Right.
those relatable families,
We've been
and
working on this for a year.
And I said, and
It was perfect.
and I was just telling you that I'm always open. I'm trying to be open and honest. I don't like the beating around. I'm very open. I like.
can
to
I get
share
you
my-
water or
No,
something?
no,
I like to share
Oh,
my
because you're under the
story.
light, I didn't know if you were like dying.
Oh, no.
over
And
here.
I'm gonna tell you, my husband may be upset that I told the little story we had, but it's the truth because he went through so much. But I'm saying he.
Why you had to tell them that?
Right, exactly.
Do a group photo of you
But
guys,
yes,
everybody
yes, it was
together, so I can get all of you.
Oh,
A photo of you guys.
Wait, can you get my shoes?
I was so
I took off my shoes
And
today.
Helen, with everything we went through, it came out really great. So.
No, we can't do no shoe cam.
Move the table and you guys can stand.
Did somebody get the boots that was sparkling?
I know, those are my-
I love a pair of
Put
boots.
on my shoes.
Who? Me? I don't know.
After all the trauma we went through to get on.
Right, I was saying the same thing. I didn't even realize that people would sponsor the
Guys
same.
are superstars.
Right, it's
Oh
really
my
what
God.
we need to get some more money.
I want some food.
look at
No,
those boots.
Yeah, these are my, I bought these boots for
Oh,
the
it's
new
still
Met
live.
party.
I can't see it, but it's still
When we,
live.
It's still live?
when we changed the logo to
It's
purple,
still
I had to find
live.
purple.
And I have a collection, wait, what? My Schneider hat to get ready for,
But you know what? You know what?
It's demonstrated still on.
Awesome. You didn't tell all our secrets. We can still hear y'all talking. Wow.
Haley, how do you log out on Facebook here?
Just shut it out, just close the browser.
Oh, all right, that was funny. The mics are still hot. Y'all still live. We can't see you. But we can still
Good thing you ain't say no names.
You pull it out?
We didn't say anything.
I thought we did, I wrote
I didn't say a name though.
You have to close the Zoom.
Yeah, just turn it
Yeah,
off. Close the whole thing down.
Oh, well.
Did we say anything that, we didn't say anything to that.
I was like, the other lady didn't post one thing.
Somebody